Hi there, it's Paul Clevitt from, just adjusted my chair, that was a bit weird, Wolf Software Systems. And today I'm going to talk about the three real options you have when building a hosting platform and service. And most people think it's only two. Most people think it's on-premise or cloud, okay, but there is another way, which I'm going to come to very shortly. So what I want to talk about is the pricing and stuff like that. On premise means that it's on your premises, so you've got your own servers, your own server racks, and there's lots of considerations with that. For instance, I've got one client where they wanted to move to cloud because someone had heard it was a good idea, I think, and we looked at the software and things that they had, and some of it's quite legacy and old and can't really be rewritten or changed. And it was like, if you put that on the cloud, we don't even know if it's going to work. And yeah, it might have worked, it might not have worked, but because of the way that their whole system was set up, it was far safer to have it local. Another reason for staying on premise with that one is that their broadband facilities weren't that good. And also, we were quite concerned about ingress and egress charges in the sense that we didn't know what their traffic was going to be. We could have measured it, probably. But again, this is one of the considerations with the cloud is a lot of things are a bit of an unknown. So we've got Google Cloud Console here. So I'll start off by showing you this is one of our Proxmox clusters. And you can see here's little baby, here's Beanstalk. Let's pick Beanstalk, for instance, and we can see the spec for this. Don't worry that it's got a yellow thing with RAM, but it's actually got 40 gig free. It's doing fine, and its CPU usage is fine. There's a little bit of I/O delay, and that's because of object storage. Proxmox doesn't really support mounting object storage, so we do it by doing an rclone mount on the server. Then the containers just have links mounts that connect to the mounted drives. The problem with that, of course, is, and I know I'm getting a bit off of topic, but the problem with that, of course, is that if the object storage goes offline, you can't shut the containers down. That's a whole nother story. That's the thing we're working on. We will get round to it. So anyway, coming roughly back to what we were talking about. So on-premise is good if you've got legacy systems, if your broadband connections are not that fantastic. If it works, don't fix it. So this is the other thing. Don't just move to cloud for the sake of it. It's going to be a huge expense. Okay, you might find it far less expensive to just replace your servers with more modern servers and upgrade. But the second option is this. Now, this is basically all these servers that are in this cluster are on different parts of Hetzner's data centers in Frankfurt. Okay, and so we've got Frankfurt's quite a big place, and there are quite a few data centers, but they're very close to each other, so the latency is very good. And because actually some of this cluster is running a game, an online game called Wolf Territories Grid, what we own, wolf-grid.com, if you want to have a look at it, wolf-grid.com. We have to have very high speed latency between the servers, but we also want the resilience of them being in different places. And this is a really good solution. But let me just talk about the cost. Okay, so I've got here 32 core, so a 16 core AMD Ryzen 9. Okay, this is a really, really good little processor. Okay, we're running Linux, obviously Proxmox on it. This is a Proxmox cluster. We've got all kinds of things going on there. But this 32 core, it's got 187 gig of RAM. And this is running me about €200 a month, which is about £180 a month for this unit. Now, what I'm going to do is go to cloud and just have a look and see if we can even set, I don't think if I can even set a VM up. Let's try and set up a VM on Google Cloud. So I'm going to go for European Frankfurt, because which I think is that one there. Okay, and I'm going to go for, I don't care, they've only got 3 zones there. So let's go for, try and get the same kind of, it's going to be high memory because we need, but you see, even then they've only got 128 gig of RAM. For our application, we actually need a lot. So even just a 16 core, so 16, this is an 8 core, this is half the core. Let's see what we've got here. See, they can't really match the memory, but I mean, so let's say, so we'd actually kind of need 2 of these. So let's just go for one of those. All right, so we're now at $681 a month. It's just crazy money. Okay, and the reason that people go, and this is low cost day-to-day computing. So let's try enhanced balance, price, and performance. Okay, let's try this. Let's see what we've got. And remember, we don't have 512 gig of RAM. This runs out at $5,000 a month, and this remember that's really fantastic, but it's $5,000 a month. Okay, let's try and match it a bit more. So let's go. They haven't. Oh, hang on. Here we go. 48 CPUs, 24 cores, and that's coming in at 2,000 a month. So my one server, my little beanstalk, at 16 cores. And remember that this isn't a VM as well. This is bare metal. So we're getting all the resources on this server. Okay. If you rent a VM, you are sharing resources with other people. That may be across a Kubernetes cluster, or it may be across some kind of setup. A lot of companies, I know that Contabo use Proxmox, and there's we've had a lot of experience of hosting with different companies in the sense of renting our servers and having that kind of extra help. We have a great team of people looking after this sort of thing. But if you want to reduce, why would you do it? The thing about this is, okay, you're going to bring up a Linux machine that's going to cost you $2,000 a month. $2,000 a month. Wow. That's $1,500 a month. You're going to bring up a machine that you're sharing with other people. Okay, that cluster, you're on a cluster with other people. And the other thing is, people say, oh yeah, well, Google Cloud, it's going to be really resilient. But the problem is that it's not totally foolproof. There was a big insurance company. I think you can look it up on YouTube. I'll try and find the link and put it in the description. But there was a really big company, an insurance company, who suddenly found all the data was gone one day because someone had set up they'd set up something on Google Cloud to host all their stuff. And basically what happened was that when they set it up, the script they used to install it had a timer for a year. So after a year of loading everyone's data, the whole thing just disappeared. Now, luckily, because due to good planning, they managed to actually sort it out. But if you would like to explore this kind of setup with multiple clusters, we're used to building database clusters or anything. We've got a 5-node Galera cluster running beautifully. We know how to tune them. We've got our own object storage. We save a fortune by doing this. We just wouldn't be able to do this for the cost. I think this would probably cost in excess of 20 to 30,000 a month for this cluster if we were running it in a cloud provider like Amazon or Google. They have their place. If you've got deep pockets and you don't mind spending your company money, then they do have their place. But we can provide, I don't want to get into a sale. I'm a techie, I don't like doing any kind of sales, but we could build this for people. We actually have more than one cluster, obviously, in different places. We can do mirroring. We've also got a backup server somewhere else, a Proxmox backup cluster doing backups. So there's daily, something we can back up hourly, 15-minutely, daily, depends on the application. Actually, with games, it's very difficult to do any kind of backup. So we switched to doing a resilient circuit setup where we can actually blow things up. So where the actual servers are disposable. So there'll be like 3-4 copies of the server, or you might have what's called high availability. So if a server fails, the cluster brings up so each one of these is a little server in itself. I know that a lot of people don't like using containers on Proxmox, but we found the performance to be way higher than using VMs. And again, with a gaming setup and anything to do with gaming, you need that performance and you need latency. And it's also keeping your costs down. If you're just running a bunch of web servers, you don't need to have VMs. You can just have containers because they're so disposable and so fast and so good. So there's some options. So there's basically, what I'm saying is there's 3 options. There's on-premise, which is a good option. Okay, fair enough, but your hardware costs will be quite high. There's this option where we or someone builds or a cloud for you, Or there's the other option where you just go to Google Cloud and get some compute or get a Kubernetes cluster set up and run it. But again, your costs are going to be way higher. Okay. Now, do we have hardware failures? Yes, we do, but we build our system so it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. So everything's kept backed up, and everything's, we can do live migrations and all kinds of things and high availability, and it all really works. We did have a notification that we were going to have that two of our servers were going offline, and being I'm so efficient, so I actually forgot it was going to happen, and I came into the office and they were all back up and everything, and I didn't and I thought that's a bit odd because one of the containers hadn't started, because they're actually on like an auto start. So if you click on let's take this Nextcloud one, so it's got start to auto boot. Well, that was switched off on one of them, so it didn't start, and I thought that's odd, that's not running, so I just ran it. And I went, oh, I know what it was. But actually, data centers doing shutdowns is a very rare thing. It's a very rare thing. So this is a really cool place to go, especially if you're a startup and you don't want to be spending $2,000 a month on servers. It's just, especially if you don't even know if it's going to work or you've got minimal funding. We could build you a pretty good cluster and manage it for you for actually less than it's going to probably cost you just to rent one server in the cloud. The other thing about the cloud is to watch out for is ingress and egress charges. What that means is that I've spoken about this on my other videos, is that some providers will charge you, especially object storage, they love doing it, for uploads and downloads, which is a bit of an uncontrollable, because especially if you've got a public site, if you've got a public site doing downloads, for instance, imagine if you had something like YouTube, you started a little YouTube site like YouTube, you can upload your pictures and videos, and one of them goes viral, and suddenly your ingress egress charges are through the roof, but you're giving away a free site. So it's just, yeah. So if anyone would like to talk to us about what would be best for them and their business or their idea, we're really up for doing it here at Wolf Software Systems. Just go to wolf.uk.com. And if you just fill this form in, or you can scan that. If you scan that QR code, you'll get our details on your phone. We actually have a service for doing that. Like you can sign up for £5 a month to get that, and we've got our AI receptionist. So if you just fill in this form, and Charlie here, which is our AI that we built, one of them. We actually have quite a few AI tools that we built. Charlie will answer your emails and discuss with you what you want to do, and book an appointment with us to come and have a discovery meeting. There's no obligation. We're interested in what's best for you. Obviously, we need to make money. We're a business, so don't expect us to do things for free. Yeah, so that's three options that you can look at as a business or as a startup, or even if you're a small company, maybe what you're doing now is not really the best. Maybe you've got, we just rebuilt a 13-year-old system that was just dire slow. It was horrendous. The poor people, I don't know how they used it. In fact, I think what they were doing was not using it. So we just rebuilt this. I can't show it to you because it's got GDPR, it's got customer data in it, but it was just, that's the sort of thing we can do. We're sort of, we start where the standard web design, we do standard website builds, but we kind of start where they end, where a standard web designer will throw his hand up in the air and go, I can't do any more. I don't know how to do, we use WordPress for our own site because it's pretty good. The projects that we do tend to be building whole systems. We've just built a social media site, and all those things are there. So if you'd like to have a chat with me or the rest of the team and talk about hosting, or talk about servers, or talk about web design, or talk about rebuilding an application, or building a mobile app, please get in touch, wolf.uk.com. If you found this video useful, please subscribe. I'm going to do lots more technical, boring videos. So that's it. Cool.